this video, I'm going to show you how you can DIY a tile wall just like this, even if you never have before. It may be intimidating, but I promise you can do it. Welcome back to my channel, Nail Gun Nelly. Let's get to it. So the first thing I needed to do was make sure that this wall was level with the rest. It was such a narrow area, I had to use 1x2s to basically make a little stud wall that would fit behind the fridge on this little indent. So we removed all the trim on the old cabinet and then slid in this little makeshift wall. And I secured it to the studs in this wall and then through the cabinetry. And here you can see it left just enough room for 1/2-inch cement board to be attached here. Electric shears are a lifesaver when cutting cement board, makes it super easy, and then you just secure them to the studs. And then once that was up, we were ready to scuff up all of the finished drywall that we were applying tile to, removing the outlet covers, and then getting all of your supplies. You're gonna need a level, and then if you have a laser level, that could be very helpful as well. Next, you're gonna clean the wall that you just scuffed up, making sure there's no oil, debris, anything, so that you get good adherence. When laying tile, the most important row is your very first one. You have to have it level in order for all of the other tiles to remain level throughout. I have this laser level that I like to use, and it will guide you throughout the whole entire first line. What I did was put a tile on one side and mark the top, and then did the same with the other and found which one sat higher and used that level line. From there, I ensured that all of my tiles on this first row were flush with the top of this black line. I also heard that it's good to score finished drywall before. Not sure if this is exactly true, but I did it and it's not gonna hurt. I also decided to take the easy way and get pre-mixed mortar. And if you're somebody that is doing this for the first time, I would suggest this. It's gonna make it so much easier and it's gonna be ready to go. You also have the option of mixing your own, but it's not necessary. You also need to get a trowel to put the mortar on the wall, and they have different types, V-notch, square notch, different sizes, and you can just Google a trowel size chart to figure out what size is needed for your specific tile. Then you just dig in, grab some mortar with your trowel, and then start spreading from the bottom up, and you kind of just push it on at first, and then you're going to take the notches and wipe away the excess at a 45-degree angle. I only do a small section at a time so that the mortar stays moist and doesn't dry out by the time I actually lay the tile. So then I take my tile and I back butter mine. So basically that just means that you put the mortar on the back of the tile as well and then scrape it off in the same fashion. I believe this is only required in larger tiles that are bigger than 15 inches or so, but it just ensures better adhesion, so I do it on all of mine. So the other thing that you need are your tile spacers. So you can see them in between each tile, and they have different sizes as well, 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. So depending on the size of the grout line, you're gonna wanna get these. They have a lot of new tile spacers that actually level out the tops and you just click them off. But I usually only would use those for flooring or large tiles that you might have more difficulty keeping plumb with each other. So you can see here, I just keep going along doing the same process, ensuring that the top of each of my tiles is flush with the black line that I made. So when you come to something that you need to actually make a cut on a tile, there's a few different options. This is a wet saw and it is the most commonly used. It has a diamond tip blade and is basically like using a miter saw with water. But if this is too intimidating for you, they also have handheld tile cutters that basically they look like pliers and they kind of just snip the tile the way you need. There's also a cutting wheel where it basically can score it for you and you snap it, but they cannot be used on all size tiles. The other most important thing on this first row is your vertical alignment. You want to make sure that you are keeping your tiles not only level on the top line, but also vertically. So be sure when you lay your first one that you have a laser level or an actual level that makes sure that it's standing upright and not slanted off to one side. I always like to double and triple check my level because it is so important, like I said, for that first one to be right in order for the rest to go smoothly. But once you do have it going, then it pretty much is just a repeat the process over and over until you get to the top where you'll have to make your last and final cuts, where I was super lucky here and they were all the exact same cut. So I just took a bunch of tiles and cut them all at once. So now that this wall pretty much flew up, we moved our focus over to the other side where we had to add this piece of Schluter to the left side of the main wall. This is my favorite way to cap off the edge of a tile that is not going to be butted up against a wall. It'll give it a very clean look, and you just basically cut the piece of metal with a carbide tip on your miter saw, chop saw. So then I took it in, and you can see I did the same little measurements with my tiles to make sure the first row was level. And then I added mortar to the left side of the edge of the wall where the Schluter was going to go. So you put it on as if you were going to apply tile, and then scrape it at a 45, and then take the piece of Schluter and firmly press it into the mortar, making sure that it is flush with the edge of the wall. Once you have it in place, then you're gonna wanna take more mortar and apply it on the little round circle areas, and then your tile is gonna go directly on that. From there, you're basically just repeating the process. Back buttering the tiles as you go and ensuring that the top of this first line is level with the black line that you drew. To save time with cleanup as you're going and pushing your tiles in, if excess mortar comes out, you can use a spacer just to scrape out that excess so that it doesn't dry on top of your tiles. You also want to make sure that the Schluter stays level as you go because it can move until the mortar is actually hardened, holding it in place, so check that periodically. Once you're done placing all of the tiles, you're going to want to let that dry overnight and then come back 24 hours later and you can remove all of the spacers. And feel free to have as much fun as I did doing this. And here you can see some mortar that got on my tiles, so you'll need to clean all of this before the next step. And that next step is grouting. I used a non-sanded grout that I had to actually mix. You can get pre-mixed grout as well, but this really is not that difficult. You can use a paint stir stick. You do not need an actual drill to be able to get it to the consistency that you need. It's much more affordable this way, and you just follow the instructions on the back of the box. And then you're gonna wanna get a grout float. That's what this is. It's a soft kind of rubbery feel to it. This is what the grout looks like, and you're waiting 5 to 10 minutes after you initially mix it and then stir it up again, and you are ready to go. Grouting is extremely simple. You basically take your grout float, scrape it on, and push it into all of the open crevices, and then scrape it all off at a 45-degree angle. Once you have most of it all scraped off, then you're going to come in with one of these big tile sponges. You're going to want to get a bucket of water, and basically you just wipe it off as much as you can and then clean your sponge and repeat the process as many times as you need to get it all off the tile, and it'll stay in all of the grout lines. Now, don't be surprised when you come back and you see a lot of haze over your tiles. This is normal, and it's just going to require you to clean them multiple times. This grout color is called Bone, and it's kind of a nice soft beige. Here you can really see the haze that formed, and I actually ended up having to wipe this down probably about 4 times, and using vinegar is also another good way to make the haze go away. Lastly, to tie this up, I got some corner molding that was gonna fill the gaps between the cabinets and the tile, and so I did the same wood glaze technique to both the corner molding and this little alarm box that I had to come up with some kind of disguise to keep it in the design, so I found this acrylic clock and added that to it. Lastly, I added outlet extenders, and here it is. I did also add a grout sealer, and I just didn't record that process for you, but you basically just spray it on and wipe off the excess. I can't believe how well this tile goes with this wood faux look that I did on the console. I love all the variation in color and how elevated it has made this space look. I hope this tutorial has helped you feel a little more comfortable with possibly tackling your own tile job, and be sure to ask any questions in the comments below and I will be sure to respond. I have everything linked, including this beautiful tile from the Tile Club, down in the description. And this area, I did forget to mention, I will be adding a thin piece of wood trim. But you can see here just how good Schluter makes the edge of a tile that's gonna not be butted up against a wall look. Thanks for watching, and I hope you feel knowledgeable enough to do your own tile job. We'll see you next time.